My granddad was an engineer and he worked all over the world on large construction sites. Because he travelled everywhere, my grandma went with him, and my mum's older sister and brother. When her dad was working in Tehran in Iran, which at the time was known as Persia, the picture on screen was what he was building there. When they were there, she had my mum. My mum lived there for 2 years, then she moved to Tunisia in North Africa. When she was there, she went to a Montessori school. Montessori is a method of education. Her and her family stayed there until my mother was 4. They then moved back to the UK for a couple of years. After this, my mum's family moved back out to Africa, but this time to Kenya in the east. They stayed there for 18 months. During that time, my mum, my aunt and uncle were homeschooled by their mum. They were homeschooled because the nearest English school was in Nairobi. This was 100 miles from their home. Their home was surrounded by many wild animals. Some of these were monkeys, snakes and elephants. My mum spent a lot of her time watching and studying the wildlife. She learned what they eat, where they live and how they interact with each other. There was also a nature reserve park where they visited more animals which they couldn't see around their home. My mum didn't have many toys in Kenya, but she did have a go-kart which her dad built out of an old wooden pallet and some old pram wheels. Near their family's house was a slope, and she used to ride down the slope, and when she got to the bottom, she would pull it back up by the steering string, and then she would go again. Every so often, she would be sent an English magazine with stories in to read. She would be sent this through the post. She would always look forward to it a lot to receiving it. After my granddad finished his work, he brought his family back to the UK to settle into a permanent home in England. This was so my mother could attend an English school. My granddad carried on travelling all over the world for his work.